was assured that the tips are being monitored, that any movement is being looked at very carefully, but we've got to be realistic that these tips were put there a long time ago. The drainage works underneath them, the infrastructure is very old, and climate change means more water is falling on our mountainsides and on our tips, and that has implications and needs to be planned for. The question is, we all know this is going to be expensive, and planning for climate change generally is going to be expensive. The question is, who pays for it? Because most of these tips are in some of the poorest communities in the whole of the UK, and it absolutely isn't fair after more than a decade of austerity to expect either local authorities or the Senedd to come up with the money for this, because these tips were put there, as the First Minister said, way before the Senedd was even voted for.
Doesn't this row, though, or discussion over who pays £600 million expose the limitations of the Welsh Government? Because even though it's perhaps on paper their responsibility, this will require funds from central government from the UK. And it does show that Wales, in this instance, is completely reliant on Westminster to get this work done.
Well, this is the problem with devolution, isn't it? I mean, it's got its limits. We can take some decisions, but ultimately many of the powers, the laws, the funding mechanisms, all of that still resides in Westminster. That's why some of us want to see Wales become an independent country. Let's stop there.
Let's extrapolate the argument. Let's extrapolate the argument. If Wales wasn't going to get this money from Westminster, where would it get the £600 million from to solve this problem? As you say, a very critical problem, given what happened last year.
Well, it has to be paid for. There's no doubt about that. The briefing that we were in last week made it clear that if work needs to be done, it will be done, and then the finances will be sorted out afterwards. Now, that's easy to say in one sense, but it does need sorting out. Now, it's just completely unacceptable to me, the idea that this should come from limited budgets within Wales. It has to come, it's the state that has the power to borrow. It's the state that has the power to raise the big money that's needed for these kinds of investments. And let's remember, the profits from coal, we should be some of the wealthiest places on the planet, given the wealth that was taken and extracted from under the ground here, but we're not. We're one of the poorest areas. Now, it's not fair that we're in that situation, so it would be absolutely unacceptable to expect these communities to pay for the remedial works for all this.
After what happened at Tyler's Town last year, and recently at Skewin, it obviously cost a lot more money to clean up these accidents after they happen. Therefore, it's in everybody's interest, I'd imagine, that the work is done in the most critical, the most unstable places as soon as possible.
Yes, and this was all predicted many years ago by scientists. They told us that climate change was coming, and if we didn't take remedial measures earlier, then over time it would be more costly to clean up, and those predictions are coming true. We still have time. We still have time to reverse this. But I'm not seeing the sufficient priorities given to this from governments either in Westminster or Wales, or really in many places in the world, to be honest. We're going to see more extreme weather, we're going to have more water, and it's in places like our former industrial areas that are going to bear the brunt. We have to have that investment and support.
Leanne Wood, Plaid Cymru, member of the Senedd for the Rhondda. Thanks for joining us on BBC Radio Wales.